Um, so the first question is, what is the scariest thing that's happened to you in your job as a farmer or shepherd?
Kevin, would you like to go first?
No, well, okay then. Well, I've got two things. One that happened to me and one that happened to my dad. So the pigs used to be in Kintore along Castle Road, along past the school, and we'd had a second-hand feed bin, a kind of tall metal cylinder, delivered to feed the pigs, and we hadn't had time to put it in situ. It needed some concrete works done. So, but it was quite a windy day, and I was outside at the other side of the pig unit looking across, and all of a sudden I hear this bang, and the whole big metal bin had fallen down. Right, just missed my father by like 2 feet. So it was scarier for him, but I thought it was quite scary looking on. And the second thing that happened to me was cows can be very protective when they've got newborn calves. So I got pinned to the ground by a cow that had newly calved and started to push me into the ground, but I screamed and it kind of got a scare, and I got up and hid behind a tree. So over to you, Ian.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Ian Armstrong. I'm a sheep Bray Farm, Kintore, just outside of Cure Hill. I've got a couple of things as well, which is a lesson in ATV operation, which is quad bikes. I'm a contract at lambing time, and I've been away around places in Scotland lambing sheep in the hills and the lowlands. And on one occasion, a couple of years ago, when it comes to catching a sheep that requires assistance, one has to jump off the side of a quad bike to catch the sheep. And it's all about catching that sheep, getting her sorted out, and doing everything you can to help her. And you try to kind of forget what happens to the quad bike. And as I said, I was up lambing, and one of the lambing occasions was on a hill. So as I caught the sheep, I had to watch as the quad bike slowly rolled down the hill, build up momentum, and fence down at the bottom of the hill. So I needed to stay layered of that mistake wasn't enough for me. And that was very scary, because not only did I have the wrath of the laird to worry about, I also had to worry about what I was going to use to catch sheep for the next 2 weeks. And the other thing that's been scary for me is I'm a sheep shearer through the summer, and I've got this ram with my hands called Frank. He's a big Texel pup. He's 20 kilograms, which is a fair bit heavier than me, actually. And the thought of that thing coming up with turn him up and shear him is quite a thought indeed. So that's also a very scary time of the year when I see him coming to the race and shear him. So that's my scary experience.
Thank you both for that. So the next question is, how would you have reacted if you had been with the shepherds?
Shall I take this one?
Yes, please, Ian.
Okay, so if I was there with the shepherds, I think it would be quite a dilemma, because you're just going down and like that, and something so amazing and beautiful, with the word that they brought as well, you feel so compelled and so curious to do what they say. But then on the other hand, talking from experience, thought of leaving your livelihood and your sheep and your everything you own behind would be quite a daunting thought. But then at the same time, you'd have to weigh up what they're saying, and you would follow them for sure.
Thank you, Ian. Next question for Kevin. How do you think being a farmer has changed since Jesus' time?
Oh, I suppose lots of technology, and it certainly didn't have quad bikes, I don't suppose, Ian, in the back in biblical times. I don't think so. Not even internal combustion engines, I suppose. yeah, I mean, I suppose they were quite nomadic then with their sheep in Bethlehem, and I presume they probably still are in that part of the world. They probably go around moving their animals around grazing, but the main change I think with sheep farming in our locality is the way we graze sheep these days is making better use of the grass, and in order to get more output from each acre of grass. So I think there's been a lot of improvements in efficiency over time.
Thanks.
There's a lot
Kevin.
of feedback there. I don't know. I'm hearing myself there. I don't know. Well, I'm hearing it again there. So I'm struggling to concentrate.
A question for you, Ian. How do you know / how does your work affect the wider community?
Yeah, that's a good question. I suppose it's not just for me as a sheep farmer, it's for all farmers to consider. Especially, not to get into the politics of it. The right to roam never been more prevalent in Scotland, and integrating communities and farmers has been more important in that regard. So for me, being so close to Kintore, we produce this lamb, which is good, which is grass fed, which is traced to the farm. There's all sorts of good qualities behind buying local lamb. And at the same time, we make up the countryside around these communities. The right to roam allows communities access onto land, but responsible access. And that's good because it allows people to find the countryside and get out in the fresh air, walk. And that has all kinds of benefits. They leave the land the way they found it affects the farmer either. So yeah, as a farmer, we have the potential to provide a product and provide the land for the community to benefit from.
Thank you. Kevin, how would you feel about leaving your livestock, and how does the shepherds leaving their livestock show how important the birth of Jesus was?
Well, I suppose if I was leaving my livestock, I'd be leaving them to be looked after by somebody else. And I do wonder if the shepherds had somebody back at home looking after. They said, "Oh, could you just look after these sheep for a wee while we go down and look for the birth of the baby Jesus." But I think it shows the importance of the event because they were prepared to leave their sheep, which was their whole livelihood, and go and find the newborn baby as the angels had told them.
Thank you for that, Kevin. And final question to you, Ian. How do you think the Christmas story is good news for us as a community?
Yeah, I mean, it is such a good story, in that it was the birth of hope. And the other thing is, looking at it from the side that we're kind of discussing tonight about the shepherds being there. It's the fact, for me anyway, that it was not only the wise men, the wealthiest of society bringing their gifts. It was also the shepherds, who I suppose would be considered to be relatively low in terms of power, of influence, and of wealth in those times. So the fact that the story shows not only the rich but the poor, the high status and the low status, being brought to celebrate the birth of Christ, I think that means an awful lot, and you can take a lot from that, in that how Christianity is so inclusive to everyone.
Thank you both for all your time. That's all the questions that we had.
Okay, thank you very much.